U.S. solar is expected to grow about 52% in 2023, largely due to incentives that are provided in the Inflation Reduction Act. The cost of energy generated through renewable sources, such as wind and solar, continues to fall. It's now about 29% cheaper to use renewable energy to generate electricity than compared with the least expensive form of fossil fuels. And a new job report from the Department of Energy finds that 84% of all of the jobs created within the energy sector are in the field of clean energy. I'm Jay Warmke with Blue Rock Station, and this is the news from the solar industry for the week of September 10th. Well, worldwide distributed energy generation grew by about 6% in the second quarter of 2023. Residential solar grew about 11%, and non-residential storage grew a whopping 52%. Now, China dominated most of this growth, up nearly 94% year over year, 2022 to 2023. Worldwide, China accounted for nearly 52% of all of the global solar installations. Europe followed with about 17.6% of those installations. Third place, the United States with 8%, Latin America with 6.8%. India, for the first time, is showing up in these rankings with 4%, and then the rest of the world accounted for about 12% of the solar installations. The U.S. solar market, speaking of the U.S., is expected to grow about 52% during the 2023 year. Now, a lot of this growth is fueled by incentives that were put in place in the Inflation Reduction Act that was passed in 2022. And developers also are trying to rush to get installations in place before tariffs on imported solar panels come back into effect in 2024. And CEA, the Solar Energy Industries Association, is projecting that new solar installations will triple over the next 5 years. The main barriers of this growth include the slow permitting process for large solar and even small solar projects as they go through those hurdles, and that there is a shortage of qualified labor to install these. Now, strong growth continues in all of the sectors of solar: utility, commercial, and residential. However, large solar utility scale systems still dominate the growth of solar within the U.S. Soft costs, or the cost of non-materials within solar installations, continue to make up the lion's share of solar installations, according to a recent report. The non-material costs, and these are costs such as permitting, design, engineering, marketing, profits, shipping, all of those kind of costs other than the hardware itself and the actual installation, make up about 63% of the total cost of a solar installation. We have been successful over recent years in lowering those hard costs, but the challenge remains to bring down those stubbornly high soft costs. And the growth of solar plus storage is kind of a mega trend that we're experiencing here in recent years. Currently, about 10% of the systems that are being installed in 2022 include storage or battery as part of the solar installation. It's projected this will increase to about 30% by 2027. And the levelized cost of large solar installations continues to drop. It's dropped about 3% over in 2022 to right at about 4.9 cents per kilowatt hour. So this gives you a sense, it's basically, that's the wholesale cost, the cost to the utilities when they're creating the electricity. So it costs them about 5 cents a kilowatt hour. They're going to charge you, who knows, anywhere around 18 cents per kilowatt hour. We compare the dramatic drop in the cost of solar. If you look at the numbers in 2010, the average cost of generating electricity from solar was about 44.5 cents. Today, it's just under 5 cents. That's an 89% decline. Onshore wind, as another example, dropped an additional 5% in the last year, and that drops that cost down to about 3.3 cents per kilowatt hour. Studies have shown that the highest cost of renewable energy is now significantly cheaper than the lowest cost of fossil fuel energy when you're generating electricity, when that's the fuel source. In 2010, solar cost about 710% higher than the cost of the cheapest fossil fuel in generating electricity. And of course, in 2010, the primary source of electricity as a fuel source was coal. Today, solar is about 29% less expensive than the cheapest form of fossil fuel used to generate electricity. And a study by the South Dakota School of Mines and Technology have found that there can experience as much as about 50% loss of energy production in solar panels due to smoke released in wildfires. Now, this is true even when the smoke is located at very high altitudes and is not present at ground level where you would notice it, but the haze that exists at the high altitudes will reduce the generation of power from solar. This is specifically or especially significant because we're experiencing a lot more wildfires due to climate change. And also these smoke events cover large geographic regions and can last for days and even weeks. A new jobs report from the Department of Energy shows that the energy sector outpaced job growth of the overall economy. Jobs in the energy sector grew at about 3.9% rate, while the overall jobs was right around 3.1%. Of this growth in the energy sector, clean energy accounted for about 84% of all of these new jobs. Now, interestingly, the growth of women within the energy sector grew at about 7.8%. More than half of all of the new jobs were filled by women candidates. However, women are still a significant minority within the energy sector, where men still comprise about 73% of that labor market. Solar dominates the electric power generation employment figures, with nearly 350,000 people involved in the solar industry when you're generating electric power. Wind is second with about 125,000 people employed there. And fossil fuels, the entire fossil fuel mix of coal, natural gas, oil, make up only about 195,000 folks. And that's the news from the solar industry for this week. We'll see you next week.